certainly impressive.
The question is, what's more impressive, that or what he did to Josh?
No.
This is the second time you guys have put this on this show.
The play didn't even count. Stop doing this to my man, Josh.
You guys just had this highlight on the 17-game conversation, and now you put it in again.
You see the yellow flag up there? It's a penalty. The play didn't even count.
And yet it was my favorite play of the entire season because I've spent my entire athletic life being on the other end of that stiff arm, and it makes me feel better about myself to see it happen to someone else. In the meantime, here we go, Orlovsky. No more stalling. Here's the question as we turn our attention to the world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Too easy.
Who's the longest tenured player on their roster? It's too easy. Who is it?
Hembo, I was there when they drafted him. It's Levante David.
Ooh. That's right. Usually when he says it's too easy, he's wrong. But it is Levante David. That's 9 years there. William Golston has been there 8. Cameron Brate and Mike Evans 7 each. And Orlovsky takes down Hembo. That's well done. Meanwhile, we're talking about the Bucs because they're bringing back all 22 of their starters. The 22 players who started the Super Bowl are all under contract as they try to become the first team to repeat since the 2004 Patriots. Bruce Arians, talking about how he intends to motivate his team, said the following: when our guys come back, and that's my job, I'm going to beat the blank out of them. We're going to go back to basics. We're going to have one hell of a training camp and know what our foundation is. He said that on the Loose Cannons podcast, and my immediate... Well, Dominique, why are you looking that way? What is with that look?
I mean, I played football since I was 8 years old, and every single coach that I've ever had said that before training camp.
Yes.
That's just what coaches say. We're going to be the toughest. No one's going to outwork us. This is going to be the hardest training camp you've ever been through. Blah, 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 blah. But one thing I do know is Dan Orlovsky knows nothing about a difficult training camp because quarterbacks, like you got 6-step drop, 5-step, 3-step. That's it. Maybe your shoulder gets a little sore, but you guys don't go through training camp. You just go through like a extended mini camp, I guess. You don't understand what training camp is like.
All right, so first of all, that same message BA gave, I gave to our kids on Westport lacrosse Saturday morning. I gave it to my son's lacrosse team. Second of all, when it comes to training camp, I'll share a little story to rebuttal Don. I used to, when we were in Detroit, our practice facility is right across the street from the TPC of Michigan. My second, third, and fourth year, a veteran, John Kitnick, came in. And so we would practice in the morning. This is when we had 3 days. Practice in the morning. Kit and I would just run into the locker room, keep our practice clothes on, run to our cars, switch into our golf gear so no one would see us. We'd go play 18 holes of golf, come back, practice, go back and do it again in the afternoon. So we'd get 2 rounds of 18 holes of golf, and we play 18 holes in like an hour and 30, hour and 40, and 3 practices. So to Dom's point, yes, practice for training camp quarterbacks is a little bit easier than other positions.
With your red jersey. Two things off of that, Mike Greenberg. One, while you're playing golf, the rest of us are in the training room or taking a nap because we're exhausted. And 2, what was you guys' records back then? Never mind. Moving on.
Like that was unnecessary. Like that was unnecessary for me to share that story. And then you take the record shot uncalled for.
I'm sorry.
I didn't. I'm glad you said it, so I didn't. I was going to say perhaps if the quarterbacks had been taking training camp a little more seriously, your team might have won a single game that season.
It was, but no, we didn't lose games that season because John and I played golf. We lost that game because we had no talent and we stunk.
That's fair. I'm just joking. It wasn't the golf part.
But you didn't win any games that season because you played golf. So we know for sure one of them is not true. We don't know about the other. Let me segue to actually. Unimaginably, I'm going to segue from that to a pretty serious question, which is that it is now it is practically a certainty that the NFL is going to go to a 17-game schedule. And this comes, to me, I don't think this is getting nearly enough attention. There are so many things about this that are significant from a fan's perspective and maybe most of all from a player's perspective. And we have the unique opportunity, if you will, to have Dominique Foxworth on our show. And Dominique, again, you were the president of the NFL Players Association, so no one understands the issues here better than you do. And I just want to give you the floor first. What is your reaction to now this virtual certainty that the NFL is going to go to a 17-game schedule?
I mean, it's obviously about money to extend the schedule. They're finding new ways to generate more revenue. In theory, it's good for everybody. That means a higher cap, and that means more money for the owners, means more money for the players. But the biggest problem I have with this, and putting the health and safety things aside, it's that the players for whom this is going to be the most difficult and the most onerous, the players for whom their careers will be shortened, the players for whom they will not make more money, those players are not the players who are going to benefit from this. So we started this conversation talking about how quarterbacks don't really participate in training camp, and we've seen that quarterbacks are playing longer and longer, and the star players will be protected. But there are going to be a lot of guys who have their careers shortened from maybe 2 to 3 years to 1 or 2 years, maybe 5 or 6 years to 4 or 5 years. And that is millions of dollars that will not go to them. So while the cap continues to rise, the guys who do not have the negotiating leverage to extract more value from that cap, those guys are going to be kind of ground up and run out of the league. So I would suggest that the league and the union figure out some mechanism to assure that the players who are who will have their careers shortened from this, the players who will likely suffer some career impacting injuries because of the extension of the season, that those players also participate in the gains as much, because I know that the minimums will go up, but as much as the superstar players, because that's what's going to happen. Is quarterback salaries are going to continue to go through the roof, and then other players like the rank and file, they're going to be out of the league after 2 or 3 years and not even be able to reap the benefits of the 17th game.
It's an interesting and important point. It's one I hadn't thought of till you brought it up earlier today. You will see the quarterback salaries explode, and you will see a lot of the other guys getting paid about the same as they're getting paid now. Dan, just a thought from you as a longtime former player on a 17th game.
Yeah, I just want to know what the trade-off is, because Dom's exactly right with all the taxing on so many players, but is the offseason going to be drastically different so guys' bodies can kind of heal from that longer season and also have a longer break heading into the season? Is it going to be, we've heard the conversation of more Zoom in the offseason. Is there going to be less mandatory mini camps or training camps or OTAs? So what's going to be the trade-off for players? And is it going to be enough to impact that 17th edition, that edition of one more game? That's the biggest question, because they got to make it worthy for the players. They have to make the trade-off fair enough where the players can sit there and go, okay, I'm going to be asked to do more in season. I'll be asked to do less in the off season.
Another bye would be nice, which they did not add, but I do think that some people would argue that the training camps and all those mini camps, like those are the things that will strengthen your body and make it so you can sustain the 17th game. But we all do know that last game, like adding another football game, we know how enormous that is, how taxing that is on the players. So let's not allow anyone to convince us that this is not going to hurt a lot of players' careers. Sure. That's the thing that I'm afraid of, is while we focus on how fun this will be, we have to understand that some guys will have their careers shortened because of it.
Oh, for sure. There is a lot here to dive into. Again, the expectation is the owners will approve that this week, as they have the right to do based upon the new collective bargaining agreement. Okay, let's have a little fun. This is the first time that you two guys, Dan and Neek, have been together with us since this happened.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Shake on it. Artificial shake. There
and I
you go.
bet you that UConn beats Maryland on Friday night.
What? You stop your lies.
Okay, so that happened, and then this happened because Maryland beat UConn, and so Dan Orlovsky had to pay up, and this weekend posted that. Dan Orlovsky, how are you feeling about yourself now? I can see from the look on your face that was not your favorite moment.
I think UConn beat UConn. I mean, they were like 9 from 45 from the field to be in the first half, so it was atrocious. It was like watching Toll Brothers build houses. I will say this, though. While those colors are hideous, the gear was kind of sweet.
Nick, your reaction.
Well, the field goal percentage is called good defense. It's just like a quarterback to just think that it's all your fault. It's not a result of them getting locked down and strapped up.
What
and
happened
you're lucky.
in the next game?
It doesn't matter. I mean, what type of loser nonsense is that? Well, you lost anyway the next game. Like, you couldn't beat the Terps, and you look cute in that yellow hoodie. It was nice. It's the best you've ever looked.
The gear is sweet. The colors are ugly. The gear is sweet.
All right, we'll leave it there for the moment. The conversation will take a turn as we continue in just a moment. After all the wheeling and dealing, the Niners ended up with the 3rd pick in the draft. Does that mean they're